as they see him from far away, they are like mad. They're so mad. They're so mad that they start conspiring to kill him. From the pit to the palace, Joseph's journey was full of resilience, of faith, of purpose. It was also filled with betrayal, with trials, but through all that, he held on to God and he triumphed. He was living the dream. Thank you all for being with us once more. We're doing another Bible passage, but this time we're doing something very special. I decided to do a series on Joseph, on the life of Joseph. It's called Living the Dream. Joseph went through so much, and at the end, I know we heard the story where he ended up winning. He ended up being the second in command, but we could learn so much from each part of his life. And I want to make sure that we dive into with many chapters of his life, diving very deep into each one. So it's going to be several sections, several videos of this. So follow us along. It's going to be several episodes of this review of a Bible series called Living the Dream. If it's the first time that you're joining us, welcome. I want to welcome you. My name is Brother Alex, and I do these Bible passages. I like doing them because it definitely makes us dive into the Bible more. And I wanted to do this especially because, you know, the American dream is something that's attached to America, American dream. No other place in the world is called American dream. Like, it's not called like the Russian dream or the South American dream or the British dream, but the American dream. And it got me thinking about how we as a society are always thinking about that. And I thought about Joseph. He was a dreamer. So we have somebody in the Bible who was always dreaming, and God gave him these dreams. And I like that we have somebody in the Bible that we could kind of go by. And he was actually a person who we could study and know more about. And he didn't do many things that were wrong. And actually, he was one of the very few people in the Bible that didn't do many things wrong. Nobody's perfect, but in the Bible, he did very, very few things wrong. Actually, he did a lot of things right. So we could very copy things that he did correct. But also, I want you to make sure that you're sharing this video with somebody else. I always say that if this is a blessing for you, make sure that you're sharing with somebody else, because it's probably going to be a blessing with somebody else, for somebody else. And here's what I want you to do: share with two other people. Right now, go and share with somebody else, because it's going to be a blessing for them as well. We're going to go to Genesis 37 now, and I hope that you could follow along. And I know some people follow along just by hearing or listening in their car or at home. But if you can, Genesis 37, we're going to be doing these videos every so often here. So, you can follow along and read ahead a little bit. This is where we are in Genesis 37. We're going to be reading here. But thank you for joining us, and we're going to keep going here. We're going to dive into the life of Joseph. Thank you here for joining us. So we start here with Jacob. And if you remember Jacob, God had changed his name to Israel. They had 12 sons, and they were dwelling in the land of Canaan. And Joseph was the 11th son of Jacob. Benjamin was the 12th, but at that moment it seemed that Benjamin had not been born yet. And Joseph, being 17 years old, it says in verse 2, 37:2, it says 17 years old, he was feeding the flock with his brothers, and the lad was with the sons of his brothers. There were sons of Bela and the sons of Silpah. The father had many wives. We could talk about that another time, but he had four. There were four actually. And Israel, who's also named Jacob, loved Joseph more than all the children, because he was the son of the old age. And he made him a tunic of many colors. And this is a kid's story that we always see or we always hear about. And the brothers, they saw that their father loved him more than all the other brothers, and they hated him, and they could not speak peaceably to him. And this happens usually with siblings where they're always attacking each other. I'm sure you've seen this in your household where siblings are always kind of attacking each other. But they hated him, it says here in the Bible in verse 5. And Joseph, and here's where I'm saying that Joseph was not so easy to get along with. I think, and kind of reading through the lines, it seems that Joseph was a little bit conceited. Maybe he was a little bit snotty. He knew maybe that the father loved him more. So he kind of, maybe he didn't rub it in their faces, but he was a little bit, up there, and he was kind of maybe presumptuous a little bit. It says, now Joseph had a dream, and he told it to his brothers, and they hated him even more. The Bible doesn't say how Joseph said the dream, but I don't know. I feel like he didn't say it in the right way. And here's the other part here's where we learn. Maybe you shouldn't share all your dreams with everybody. We shouldn't just go and share, even with your brother and your sister. You shouldn't go and share your dreams. Now, the dream was given by God to Joseph, but it wasn't the correct time. It was for Joseph, and it was real. It did come to pass. But not all dreams are to be shared with everybody. And even when they shared in the correct way or in the correct time, that all it's a factor. We keep reading here, and it says, please hear this dream which I have dreamed, it says. They were binding sheaves in the field, and behold, my sheaf arose tall and upright. And indeed your sheaves, they stood all around, and they bowed down to my sheaf. And his brothers said to him, shall you indeed reign over us? Or shall you indeed have dominion over us? Remember, he was the youngest brother. So they hated him even more for this dream, for his words. You see, reading a little bit deeper, it wasn't just a dream. It seems like he was kind of saying a little bit in a pompous way. Then he dreamed still another dream, and he told it to his brothers, and he said, look, I had dreamed another dream, and this time the sun and the moon and 11 stars bowed down to me. So he told it to his father and to his brothers, and the father, Jacob, also called Israel, rebuked him and said to him, what is this dream that you have dreamed? Shall your mother and I and all your brothers come and bow down to earth before you? And his brothers envied him, and his father kept this matter in mind. Then his brothers went to feed their father's flock in Shechem. So even the father was like, I'm not liking this dream. But the father kept it in mind. He's like, I'm still kind of going to keep this in mind. The brothers left. They went to give food to the animals. The father calls Joseph and says, okay, I want you to go give them food, because all the other brothers went to the field, but Joseph and Benjamin did not go to the field. Benjamin was even younger, so he did not go to the field. Joseph did not go to the field, even though he was 17. And honestly, even 17-year-olds right now, I would have sent them to the field. 17-year-olds back then would have been sent to the field. He did not go to the field. And once again, that's kind of showing me the preference. And it says it here in the Bible that Jacob had high preference for Joseph here, giving him the coat and all that. So Jacob sends for Joseph and says, okay, you're going to go and give him food and go see how your brothers are. I'm skipping a couple verses here, but he sends them to the field and to see how they are. Joseph goes to them. As he's approaching them, the brothers see Joseph from far away. And as they see him from far away, they are like mad. They're so mad. They're so mad that they start conspiring to kill him. They want to kill him, like literally kill him. They want to kill him. The oldest brother, Reuben, out of all of them, the oldest brother Reuben, hears this and says, whoa, 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 wait. We're not going to kill him. We're not going to kill our brother. We're not going to do that. And I do want to read that to you because it's like verse 21, it says, but Reuben heard it and he said, and he delivered him out of their hands. And he says, let us not kill him. And Reuben said to them, shed no blood, but cast him into the pit, which is the wilderness, but do not lay hands on him. But he thought he might deliver out of their hands and bring him back to his father. Reuben's plan was let's put him in a pit. I'm going to tell my brothers, let's put him in a pit. And later on, when they kind of forget, I'm going to take him out and, I'll save him. That was Reuben's plan, not the other brothers. The other brothers, except for Benjamin. Benjamin was younger. And by the way, Benjamin was blood brother because Benjamin was pure mom and dad brother of Joseph, but he was a little boy. Everybody else was half brothers. They were going to kill him. Reuben was the only one that was going to save him. They were like, okay, fine, let's throw him in the pit. So they throw him into the pit. They grab him. They throw him into the pit. They take his coat of many colors, and this is verse 23. They take his tunic of many colors that was on him, and they cast him into the empty pit. There was no water in it. And they sat down. The brothers, after they throw him into the pit, they sat down and they had a whole meal after they throw him into the pit. Then they lifted their eyes and they looked, and there was a company of Ishmaelites. Give you a little backstory of the Ishmaelites. Remember, Ishmael was the other son of Abraham. Abraham had two sons. Abraham had Ishmael first from the Egyptian woman. Sarah was the first wife, was the wife. Sarah had made Abraham had a son with the Egyptian woman. Ishmael was that first son. But then Isaac was the real son of the promise. And then Sarah made Abraham turn Ishmael away. But Ishmael became his own tribe, became his own nation, he became his own people. By the way, Ishmael and Isaac are cousins. They're brothers, actually. They're brothers. They're half brothers. So these people here, they're cousins because of the generations. They're cousins. So if you go down the line, the Ishmaelites and them are cousins. Just to kind of give you a little bit of background, they're cousins here. And if you keep going down the genealogy, just to kind of bring it down to today's day, now, if you look at the Middle East, the Jewish people and all the people in the Middle East, they're cousins. They're cousins. They all come from Abraham, and they all come from the same family line. Very interesting. Let's keep going. It says, come, let us sell them to the Ishmaelites, and let our hand not be upon him, for he is our brother, he is our flesh. And they said, okay, let's just sell him. And the brothers listened to them. Judah says, let's make a profit, actually. Instead of killing him, Judah said, let's sell him. And this way we don't get our hands dirty, and we actually make a profit. They sold them, and they passed by. They took Joseph, they lifted him up out of the pit, and they sold him to the Ishmaelites for 20 shekels of silver. They took him to Egypt. Then Reuben, returning to the pit, he saw that Joseph was not there. He tore his clothes. So they saw that, Reuben wasn't there. Remember, Reuben's plan was, let's put him in the pit. But he was going to grab him and save him and bring him back. But he didn't have a chance to because Judah decided to sell him. So he got upset. He's like, what happened? He couldn't return him. So in verse 30, it says, he returned to his brothers and said, the lad is no more. What shall we do? So they took Joseph's tunic and they killed a goat and they dipped the tunic in blood And they sent a tunic of many colors, and they brought it to the father, and they said, look what we found. Look, this is what happened. We don't know what happened. And they recognized it, and he said, it's the tunic of my son. A wild beast devoured him. And without a doubt, Joseph was torn to pieces. And that's what they told the father. Of course, the brothers knew that that was a lie, but they just let the father assume that that was true. They just said, look what we found. They made it look as if that's what it was. Then Jacob, the father, he tore his clothes, and he put sackcloth on his waist, and he mourned his son for many days. And all his sons and all his daughters arose to comfort him, but he refused to be comforted. And he said, for I shall go into the grave to my son in mourning. Thus my father wept for him. Now the Midianites had sold him into Egypt to Potiphar, an officer of Pharaoh and the captain of the guard. And that takes us into the next chapter. Follow us next time. We stay there where Joseph ends up into Potiphar's house, and he starts to increase there. He's sold from the pit into slavery, I guess. He's there, but he starts to become actually a really, really well-known person in Potiphar's house, and from the lowest person, he becomes a great person. Join us next time when we keep going into Joseph's life as he keeps living the dream. Thank you for being with us. Join us next time.